state. I want to inform the defendants on this calendar that you have certain constitutional rights. You have a right to have an attorney present with you at this hearing, which everyone should have by now. And you also have a constitutional right to remain silent. Remember that anything that you state about the facts or circumstances or the occurrences of your case can and will be held against you. Are we ready to start courtroom 2?
Yes, good afternoon, Judge. This is going to be position 17, Ms. Wright.
All right. All right, this is case number 22 CR 006706J, Teresa Ann Wright. You're charged with 1 count of unlawful conduct during a 911 call, willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer, and simple battery. The offense date is October the 5th, 2022. Pre-trial?
It's an 8th arrest. Last was 2004. Battery / simple battery, family violence, criminal damage to property, 2nd degree, theft by taking. Those were dead dockets. And before that was 1998. That's it.
Okay. State?
Yes, Your Honor. On October 5th, 2022, Officer Gunawan, Gunawan, was dispatched to 3390 Fairburn Road, Atlanta, Georgia, apartment E72, in reference to property damage. Upon investigating the call, the defendant, Ms. Wright, became irate with the officer's line of questioning and began yelling and becoming boisterous with the officer. The officer had to retreat to his vehicle to avoid the defendant's behavior. While Officer Gunawan was on the phone with his supervisor, he could hear the defendant on the phone with the 911 operator berating him about how he does his job and repeatedly calling him stupid. The victim in this case, Caitlin Green, exited out of her apartment and asked Officer Gunawan what was going on at the time. The defendant came out and began yelling at the sight of Miss Green and began speaking in a vulgar and obscene manner, calling Miss Green out of her name. The defendant then threw a shoe at Miss Green, which did hit her. Officer Gunawan has been out to this location several times due to noise complaints from both parties in this case. The state's recommendation is $1,000 surety bond on each charge, no contact with the victim, Caitlin Green, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, 1-day anger awareness, and a stay away from the incident location at 3390 Fairburn Road. That's an apartment complex. The state would argue that the defendant poses a risk of reoffending due to the history of the parties and them living in the same apartment complex. The defendant does have an older history, but does have some violent arrest history in the past. Nothing further from the state at this time, Your Honor.
All right.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon.
Arrests are not convictions. My client has no violent conviction history. She is 60 years old, has been a resident of the state of Georgia all her life. She denies the allegations made by the prosecution. In fact, she is the victim, Your Honor. She was the one who called the police because her neighbors had damaged her car. She called 911 to make a complaint. The officer who came over was quite rude and dismissive towards my client and totally disrespectful to her. He didn't want to listen to what she was saying about what was happening and about the history of what has been going on with her neighbors and the attacks that they have made on her. As a matter of fact, the son of the alleged victim actually hit my client in her eye with a stick, and a detective is working on it because they plan to issue a warrant for his arrest. So my client has been going through a lot, and I would like the court to know, Your Honor, my client recently lost her son. This was about 3 or 4 months ago, and her mother around the same time. So she's grieving, and she has had to take care of her son's child. That's a 12-year-old granddaughter that she is the only guardian for because her mother is not a part of her life. My client hasn't had the opportunity to grieve, and she's just going through a lot at this moment. And to have to be arrested after she has called 911 for help just seems, it just should not happen, Your Honor. My client is not currently employed. I would ask the court to give her a signature bond so she can get out of jail and take care of her granddaughter, Your Honor. She definitely was the victim here based on what she has told me. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. And so the relationship with this Caitlin Green and Miss Wright, tell me that one more time.
Your Honor, they live in the same apartment complex. My client tells me that for some time, they have been harassing her. They are very noisy. When she talks to the management of the complex, the management instructed her to call the police. And she has called the police a few times. So the prosecutor mentioned that there has been a history of the police going there. That is true, because they have targeted my client because she complains about the noise. But
And-
apparently the neighbor is an adult female with some adult children living in the house, and they have targeted my client. But she's currently going through a lot, Your Honor, based on what she tells me. She's lost her child. She hasn't had an opportunity to grieve, and it's just been a lot on her. And to call the police and then you end up being arrested.
Well, I guess my biggest problem is they're neighbors in the same complex. And so, you know, if I do a stay away for Miss Wright, then that's not going to be helpful to her with her situation. What I'm
Not
trying,
at all, Your Honor.
right, what I'm trying to figure out is how we can somewhat eradicate this issue for now, and what we're do as far as them all living close together in this apartment complex.
Your Honor, if I may, I do believe that Miss Caitlin Green is on the call. If you would like to hear from her, or if she would like to speak.
Miss, do you wish to address the court, Miss Green?
Yes.
Raise your right hand for me. Do you affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth under the penalty of perjury?
Yes.
Okay.
We can't see her, Your Honor.
Oh, I'm sorry, Miss Green.
Yeah, all right, I'm about to go on the camera. What a light is.
All right, I've sworn you in, Miss Green. Tell me, are you in fear of Miss Wright?
Yes.
I'm sorry?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and you're in fear of her. If she were to come back, you think that there would be other incidents, or what are you telling me?
Yes, ma'am. So I'm at fear because her family, they keep coming around our door, banging on our windows, trying to fight us. When we, like I said, yesterday, it was nothing. She just keep going crazy. So I'm at fear. My household is at fear. We haven't been home in 2 nights because her family keeps harassing us.
Okay,
like I said,
how old are you? How old are you?
I'm 21.
21 years old?
Yes.
You live there with your mother or your family or someone?
Yes, I live with my brother.
With your brother. How old is he?
He's 22.
Okay, and Miss Wright is 60 years old. And so you're afraid of Miss Wright?
Yes. Yes. I walked up the door and just got attacked, and her family keeps trying to. My mama, they like, yes. I fear her and her family. Yes.
How close are your apartments? How close
We
do you
right
all
on top, right on top, right on top.
on top of each other?
Like every time somebody comes out the door out of our household, she just hits them. We are at fear, but we are in the process of moving. Both units have to move, so we're in the process of moving. But my only concern is while we there, we don't want to be targeted. We don't need people, shooting. Somebody shot one of her family members shot. Like we just fear for our life right now. We're like, I'm not home right now. We have to leave because we don't feel safe where we at because they keep targeting us. She keeps calling the police. they say that they not on our side, but they see that it's a petty situation. It started about a speaker. She gets mad because my brother plays his speaker. She kept
Okay.
she kept calling the police. It got to a point where the police gave up because they said you keep calling the police about a situation that we can't really do anything about. So, like I said, I guess that's why she's saying that the officer that came out yesterday, didn't help her. But he is not rude. He helped me. He was there and witnessed everything. Nobody is picking sides. This lady is just, the situation calmed down, ma'am. I guess her family came in town last weekend. They came in town last weekend and said, they knocked on our door and said, oh yeah, y'all been, bothering our family member over a year. What's up? We want to fight. And it's just every day they've been harassing us.
Okay. I guess what I'm trying to do again is we have to protect the victims in the case. And I'm trying to find out what I can do to make sure that we don't have any more incidents. Ms. McLeod, does Ms. Wright have somewhere else to go stay?
She does not, Your Honor. She isn't even working. And based on what this complaining witness is saying, she claims my client has family members, but then she herself said the family members just came into town recently. My client doesn't live with anybody but her granddaughter. She's 60 years old. These are young people. To suggest that she complains, makes them afraid.
Don't cut off. Hold on, Ms. Green. Please don't cut her off and don't argue back. Well, let me go ahead and give my ruling. I don't know how to make this problem diminish at this point. And so what I'm going to do, Ms. Wright is recommended. Is that correct, pretrial?
Yes, she was right.
The problem I again have, Ms. McLeod, is that I understand Ms. Wright is 60 years old, but if I were to give her a signature bond, she shouldn't go back to this location until we can find a safe way to make sure that there are not going to be any more incidents. Otherwise, then I'll have to give her a surety bond until we can have a cooling off period. So can you talk to her to try to find her some alternate housing with some other relatives?
She doesn't have any relatives in the Metro Atlanta area, Your Honor. But that's an issue because, as the complaining witness herself said, she thinks the relatives are people who just came in town. My client lives with her 12-year-old granddaughter. She's 60 years old. All she has done is complain about noise, and here we are. She called for help, and she ends up being arrested.
Well, I'm hearing two different sides of the story. And either I'm going to give a signature bond with a stay away, or I'm going to get a surety bond until she can find somewhere to go. She'll have to stay there. Those are my only two options.
Your Honor, this is Anna Allen, supervising today for the SG's office. How are you this afternoon?
How are you?
I'm good. Is it possible to include in your order just to have no contact? I understand that Ms. Green lives above or below Ms. Green. Which is it?
I live on bottom, she lives on top.
Are you all able to go and come without seeing each other?
No, ma'am, that's what I'm saying. My mom, that's why I said we tried to, like, it's two sides of a building. Even if we try to walk on a different side, she's attacked. She just attacks us. It's like to the point where the ring office people can't even help because she curses them out. They came to fix our door yesterday that her kids kicked in the night before because it was an altercation. We had to leave. We were scared that we were going to get shot up. The next morning we came back home, our front door was kicked in. The maintenance.
And you stated that you all are in the process of moving. When do you think you will be moved?
Well, the rent office told us we have until like November. So sometimes next month, we trying to keep the peace. But like I said, my only concern is when we walk out the door, we shouldn't get attacked. We shouldn't have people surrounding us with guns and they want to fight. We shouldn't have that because we don't want the drama. That's my only concern. I understand that she is 60. I understand that. But when you are the one that's causing the problem, what can I do?
I understand.
My mom is 50 and she punched my mom in her eye. So, hey, age don't really matter at this point. You picking, the police saw you, you did what you did.
Okay.
Your
State,
Honor,
do you have any other
may I
recommendations,
say
State?
something, Your Honor? Just
Real
based
quick,
on the
because I got to move on.
just based on the complaining witness's testimony, they're the ones being asked to leave by the management, so there must be some reason why they are the ones who are being asked to leave and not my client.
Ms. McLeod, that's
And-
not what she testified
She
to.
said both,
That is
right? Didn't
that
she
is
say
what
both
she
parties
said, that
have
they
to
gave
leave?
her until November to leave.
But didn't she say both of them have to move?
Yes,
No,
she
Your
did, Your
Honor.
Honor.
That is
No,
exactly
my
what she
client has
testified
not
That
to.
is
been asked
exactly
to
what
leave.
she said, Your
Both
Honor.
units have to move. Both units is under eviction because of the situation in
Right,
those
both
apartments.
units, right, both units are being evicted.
So, Your Honor, would you let us put this to the heel of the calendar and maybe we could reach out to the apartment complex? Because I'm sure if this is an ongoing issue, there'll be other reports and other people who can testify to this and give us some clarity about whether this lady is being attacked and assaulted and targeted by Mrs. Green and her family, or whether it's the other way.
Right. Right, that would be good. I would appreciate your help on that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
all right,
you.
thank you. We'll hold for a second. Who do we have next, Deputy? Hold that case
Petition
for us.
3, Brown.
Okay,
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Miss Tanisha Brown. I'm sorry.
Your Honor, this is a co-defendant case, so the facts will be the same for both positions, position 2 and 3.
okay. All right, I will. Deputy, do you have both parties there?
Yes, I do. I'll do
Okay.
her next. Miss
Okay, we'll do 3 and then we'll do 2.
Correct. Yes,
Okay. All right, Tanisha Brown, 22 CR 006699G. You're charged with 1 count of battery family violence. The offense date is October the 5th, 2022. Pretrial,
First arrest was T Brown.
okay. And then the other case is 22 CR 006698G. Franchita Brown, 1 count of battery family violence.
Second arrest, she had a misdemeanor possession of marijuana in her history from 07. That's it.
Okay, great. All right, give me the facts, please.
Yes, Your Honor, this offense occurred on October 5th. Officers responded to a fight call at 2318 Sand Spring Drive Southwest. Upon arrival, both parties, Franchita and Tanisha Brown, were both present. There was also an independent witness, a brother of Tanisha. Tanisha is the daughter of Franchita, Your Honor. There had been an ongoing argument via text prior to Tanisha coming home. I believe she was at work. Upon getting home, that's when things kind of blew over and a physical altercation happened. The officers noted physical marks on both parties, which is why it's a battery family violence for both. Due to this being incident between mother and daughter, the state is, and also due to the lack of criminal history on both parties, the state is willing to consent on a 5,000 signature bond through pretrial for both parties. As far as a stay away, the state will defer to the court because of course, we haven't been able to talk to either party to see if one of them have another place to go. From the facts, it appears that this has been an ongoing thing. So the state is concerned that with them living in the same household, that things could get violent again. We're also asking for no further contact due to the multiple altercations between the parties and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
Okay. And so the daughter, Tanisha, is how old?
She's 19 years old, Your Honor.
19. All right.
Yes,
And
Your Honor.
mom, Franchita is, do the math for me. How old is mom?
44 years old, Your Honor.
Okay. And so which one are you representing?
I represent Tanisha, Your Honor, the daughter.
Okay. Okay. You can go ahead and go first and then we'll hear from Ms. Gant. Ms. Gant, you represent the mother, Franchita?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, Ms. McLeod.
My client tells me, Your Honor, that she has had an opportunity to speak with her mother. Both of them want to continue to have contact and be around each other, Your Honor. This is an unfortunate incident, and this is what has been represented to me by my client who has no criminal history. She is gainfully employed. She graduated from high school and she does not anticipate that she and her mother will get into anything further, and she wants to go back home.
Okay.
And she doesn't want to have contact with her mom.
All right. If we think they can both reside together with no further violent contact,
I believe so, Your Honor.
will grant the state's recommendation for both cases. Ms. Gant, do you have anything to add if I do the 5,000 signature bond? And I hope that both mother and daughter can reconcile and won't be back down here.
Yes, Your Honor. My client, Ms. Franchita Brown, wants contact with her daughter. So we are unopposed to we are unopposed to the no violent contact order. My client informs me that she is in fact the leaseholder at the residence, but she states that her daughter doesn't have any place to go at this time and she wants her home.
Okay. All right. On position number 3, I'm going to grant the $5,000 signature bond through pretrial. I'm going to order the 1-day anger awareness course through pretrial. I'm going to order no further violent contact with Franchita Brown. And I'm going to order no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. And then on position 2, I will order the $5,000 signature bond through pretrial. I'm going to order that 1-day anger awareness course. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. And no further violent contact with Tanisha Brown.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right,
Thank
that
you,
should
ma'am.
conclude both cases. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Position 6, floors.
This is 22 CR 006700Y. This is it Esperanza Flores?
Yes, Esperanza Flores.
Okay, sorry if I mispronounced your name. You're charged with 1 count of battery, family violence, and a 2nd count of criminal trespass, both with the offense date of October the 5th, 2022. Pretrial.
3rd arrest, simple assault, criminal trespass, conviction 2016, and a 2015 suspended license no
Okay.
Your
State.
Honor. Yes, Your Honor. Law enforcement was called to 605 Fieldwood Lane in Johns Creek. Upon arrival, they immediately could hear screaming coming from the rear of the residence. At that point, they made contact with both parties. Christopher Mosquea, Mosquea, who is the victim in this case, as well as the defendant. The victim states that he was punched and his dreadlocks were pulled out of his head by the defendant. The officer was able to actually see the missing spots of hair in his head. The officer also saw blood dripping from his mouth due to a gash on the lip. The officers also noted the defendant appeared to be intoxicated at the time. There was slurred speech, unsteady gait, and the smell of alcohol coming from their person. The victim states that he was attacked when he was playing music loud. And she said that the defendant jumped on him and began to punch him and pulled 8 dreadlocks out of his head. We've been in contact with this victim, and he states that they are in a relationship and live together but share no children. He also states this is not the first time this defendant has been violent with him, but this is the first time he's actually called law enforcement. He decided to call law enforcement this time because he didn't feel that she was going to stop and ultimately needs to learn her lesson that she cannot put her hands on him. The victim states that he's unsure if the defendant will be violent with him again if she was to return to the home. And he also asked for contact. The state is opposed to this, especially knowing that she has been violent with him before. The court has also heard that she has a simple assault conviction from just 6 years ago, Your Honor. The state is requesting a 4,000 surety in this case, 3,000 for the battery family violence and 1,000 for the criminal trespass. The criminal trespass stems from the defendant breaking the guitars of the victim in the home. We're also asking for no further contact, a stay away from the incident location and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. I believe the victim may be on the line, if Your Honor, with sound when it's appropriate.
All right. Is the victim on the phone, Mr. Mosquea, Chris? I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing the name. Is there a victim on the phone for the case of Ms. Flores?
I see a Chris. I believe that's him. Yeah, that's his middle name, his first and middle name, Chris Yenas. Maybe he doesn't want to speak.
Okay, that's fine. We'll go forward.
No. Here I am. Hello?
Okay, I must be able to see you.
Okay, you can, 1 second. Can you see me now?
Yes, I can.
Hello?
Hello, raise your right hand for me if you wish to address the court.
I'm sorry, 1 second. I'm driving right now.
Then not
I
talk to
definitely
me and
have my,
drive. You've got to pull over. When you pull over, come back on camera. But if it's not
I'm
quick
pulling-
enough, I'm gonna go past you.
I'm gonna pull over right now, if that's okay with you.
Okay, hurry
Pulling
up.
over right now. Here I am right now. Here's my
Okay,
hand.
both hands.
Both
You pulled
hands?
over. I want to see both
Yes,
hands if you
ma'am.
pulled over. Okay, all right. Do you wish
Both
to address?
hands.
All right, do you wish to address the court today?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, raise your right hand for me. Do you affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth under the penalty of perjury?
Yes.
Okay, tell me quickly, are you in fear of Ms. Flores?
No.
You all still are in a relationship, is that correct?
I guess, yeah.
Okay, if she were to be released from jail today, would you want her to come back to stay with you or go live somewhere else?
I would like her to stay with me and learn her lesson. Yeah, that's how I honestly feel.
Okay, but you're not
As
in
you can
fear of,
see, I'm not afraid of her or anything, but as you can see, like 2 days ago, I had a whole head full of dreadlocks. I had to shave my head. I got bald patches on my head. But at the same time, like, yeah, I forgive her for that. It's okay.
all right, if she were to come back, we won't be having the police called out again, is that correct?
I mean, that's honestly up to her. I don't know what she's gonna do as an adult, but I would like to assume that she learned her lesson.
Okay, let me hear from the state real quick, please. I'm
Uh,
sorry,
Your-
from the PD's
oh.
office, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Esperanza Flores denies the allegations and she is presumed innocent. She is 26 years old. She has been in the Atlanta, Georgia area her entire life. She has family here, including a mother and her siblings. Your Honor, Ms. Flores informs me that that is actually her apartment, but the complaining witness, Mr. Mosquea, is actually paying the bills right now because she is unable to work because of a work-related injury. She has been unemployed since June of 2022. Prior to becoming unemployed, she, during the course of her employment, she was a sanitation worker, and she was also carporting for a local car dealership. She completed she is working on her GED. She denies the allegations again, as I stated. I am requesting a signature bond on Ms. Flores's behalf. She does have very limited means to pay much, if anything, toward bond. According to the report that I received, she is recommended. I do acknowledge my client's history. However, we believe that the simple assault is a remote conviction, different facts, different scenario here. I am requesting an order for no violent contact. And again, we are opposed to any stay away conditions. If your honor determines that she is ineligible for a signature bond, then I would ask for the lowest bond possible, again, as she does not have the means to pay anything toward bond.
Your Honor, if I may, while I feel the PDs have expressed that it's okay because it's remote and different facts and a different victim, the state does not think that's okay. You can see the victim here, Your Honor, you can see his lip. You can see the bald spot, Your Honor. This was a very violent situation, and no contact and a stay away is more than appropriate. Your Honor is familiar with the cycles of violence, and the state is holding strong on its recommendation.
And Your Honor, if I may, we heard from the complaining witness that he is not afraid of Ms. Mosque. He's not afraid of Ms. Flores, and that he wants her to return to the home that they share.
All right. I'm going to order the $4,000 signature bond through pretrial. That's $3,000 on the first charge, $1,000 on the second charge. No further violent contact with the victim, Chris Mosquea. As far as the stay away from that location, since they're having no further violent contact, I'll allow her to return as long as there's not going to be any more violence. And I'm going to also order the one-day anger awareness course as well through pretrial, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, thank you.
Position 11 more.
All right, this is 22 CR 006709G. Andrea Moore, you're charged with 1 count of battery family violence, offense date 10/5/2022, pretrial.
First arrest. Can y'all have him to turn his mic off? All I hear is that signal.
Huh?
First arrest.
Okay, who's Mike?
The guy that just got to talk.
Oh, Mr. Muskogee, I think it is. You can go ahead and log off of the Zoom call. Thank you. Did he log off? All right, state.
Yes, Your Honor. On October 5th, 2022, Officer Mitchell with South Fulton Police Department was dispatched to 2295 Burdett, Burdett Ridge Drive. He met with a Miss Shaniqua Ellison. Miss Ellison stated that she got into a verbal exchange about groceries. Miss Ellison and the defendant had been living together at the incident location for about 2 months. The defendant admitted to hitting the victim due to what was said during the verbal exchange. Officer Mitchell observed the left side of the victim's face to be swollen, and she also had cuts and bruises on her face. The victim stated that the defendant attacked her along with the defendant's sisters as well, but she only knows for sure that the defendant was the one punching her. Our office has made contact with Ms. Ellison, and she states that the incident did occur in front of her 4 kids. She has a knot on her head and believes her ankle was sprained due to the incident. The victim also says that her children are traumatized by this incident. The state's recommendation is a $5,000 surety bond, no contact with the victim, and stay away from the, well, not a stay away. I do believe after speaking with the victim that she no longer lives at that residence anymore. No alcohol or drugs or weapons while out on bond, and a one-day anger awareness. Due to the nature of the charges, the state believes that she poses a risk of reoffending, although she doesn't have a history. Ms. Ellison is on the call today, Your Honor, if you would like to hear from her when it is appropriate. Thank you.
All right. Ms. Ellison, do you wish to address the court today?
Yes, ma'am, I can.
Okay, can you turn on your camera? All right, raise your right hand, please. Do you affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth under the penalty of perjury?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, are you in fear of Ms. Moore?
No, not that I'm not at that house anymore. No.
Okay, so you have moved from the Burdette Ridge Drive.
Yes.
Okay, and so because of that, you're not in fear of her if she were to get out?
My kids still go to school right there, and based on that, it was, her putting her hands on my kids as well. I just don't want her to be nowhere near them because they go to the school like right by the house.
Okay. All right, what I need you to do, and I'll add this to the bond order, but we need the initials for those 4 children as well.
Okay.
Can you give me their initials real quick?
SH, AE, JE, and JE.
Okay. All right, you can mute yourself. Let me hear from the PD's office.
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Moore is 18 years old. She just graduated from high school this May 2022. She is currently self-employed. She does makeup and she also makes Halloween masks and she designs clothes. And her favorite subjects were math. And she is dreaming to be a model someday. And also she's dreaming to be an influencer to tell everybody not to be at the jail like the way she did today. She does not want to come back here ever again. And this is her first offense and it will be last offense. She has been here in Georgia for about 2 to 3 years. And other than that, since we do not reside there, I mean, they don't live together, so we don't have to worry about stay away. We are fine. We have no objection to no further contact with her and her 4 children. Thank you, Your Honor. Signature bond was actually recommended. Yes.
Okay. And I'm trying to see here, she, when did she turn 18 June? 18 in June. And I think pretrial, we do or don't want a cosigner, or you're leaving that up to me to decide?
We let it go. Don't worry about it.
Okay, all right. So I'm going to order $5,000 signature bond through pretrial. I'm
May
going
I
to,
ask a question? I'm sorry to cut you off.
yeah.
What is the justice behind like the kids having to deal with this?
When you say the justice behind it, if you would let me give my ruling and then you can ask me a question about my ruling. I'm going to make sure that the kids and yourself are safe. Since I'm going to order a signature bond for Ms. Moore and she's to have no further contact with you or your children, I wanted to add them to those bond conditions. This is just a bond hearing. This is not the trial. She's not, been convicted of anything yet. But in the interim, while she's out on a signature bond, she must stay away from you and your children. Is that going to make you feel a little more comfortable with her being out on bond? Because I'm trying to make sure that you all will be safe.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. And so that no further contact is with Shaniqua Ellison and the 4 children, SHAE, JE, and JE. So you want to make sure that there's no contact with any of them. And I was going to say to stay away from the Burdette Ridge Road, but Ms. Ellison said that they do not live there anymore. So no further contact with them. Then I ordered the 1-day anger awareness through pretrial, that course, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. Anything else, counsel?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, thank you.
Position 10, Lewis.
Your Honor,
Yes.
On the Teresa Wright case, I was not able to get anybody on the phone at the complex, but I did get the officer on the phone and he's available. If you want to call him, he'll talk to you there. It's his off day, but I have his number and I asked if he'd be willing to chat with the court or answer any questions. If
Is
you
there
want, I
any
can tell you
way?
what he
I
said.
know, I hate to bother him on his off day. I know how they are on their off day. They're getting rest. If I were to talk with him, he'd have to get on the Zoom link and talk to him. I would not necessarily call him, or if the state is so inclined to just give me a summary, I would trust what the state would tell me.
Absolutely.
As to what he says about the situation and what he thinks.
The officer, Mr. Gunawan, reported that he had been out to the location on multiple occasions, that the apartment complex is under new ownership, and that he had spoken to them as well as maintenance and security at the location on multiple occasions about the back and forth between these two parties. He reported that he believed if released on bond that the defendant would reoffend, that she's incapable of not reinstigating. He reported that she actually ran from him on the scene, that although she's 60, and I take offense of that. I'm not quite 60, but
I'm closer than her.
right. That she ran from him on the scene and was quite agile when inclined. But what he did point out was that he responded to the location because Ms. Wright called to report that there was property damage, that he never even got to the point of talking to her about it because she has no way to show who damaged her property. And she was very upset with him about his response to that. She left him and went into her house and closed the door. And it was at that time that the officer was approached by Ms. Green, who was talking to him about what was going on, not talking about the defendant in any way, not causing a problem. The defendant then came out of her home, saw Mrs. Green, took off or went to put her shoes on and decided she was just gonna start throwing them instead. And that's when she assaulted Ms. Green by throwing her shoes and hitting Ms. Green in the face. So there was no altercation between these two people. The defendant came out of her home and attacked Mrs. Green in front of the police after the defendant had been unruly and disrespectful to police. And I believe at that point, the officer just decided, clearly I have to do something and intervene. This isn't just a situation where I can talk to people.
Okay. That is very, very helpful. Deputy, let me have Ms. Wright come back real quick so I can give my ruling on position 17, if you don't mind.
And further, Your Honor, I did just receive a note that the apartment complex says that Mrs. Green has been criminally trespassed from the complex, so she cannot return there, and that the defendant has until November the 30th to get out. So it sounds like a stay away order would not be a problem.
Right. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate that, Ms. Allen.
Your Honor, may I
Yes.
say something with regard to this?
Yes, you may.
I
Yes.
noticed that Ms. Allen has said that it was the other party who's been criminally trespassed from the property, not my client.
And
I
that's because
understand.
Ms.
Can I
Green is
speak?
not on the lease.
Can I speak?
It doesn't matter. She has been criminally trespassed according
Okay,
to the
but you-
people who own the
Mama,
Hold
can I
on.
speak? I'm
So she
21.
should not be
Ms.
there
Green.
anyway.
Ms. Green,
No.
that's enough. Thank you.
Yeah, Ms. Green, please do not speak. I've not given you permission to speak. Please do not. Please do not. I think that I understand what the situation is and I understand what's going on. And again, this is just a bond hearing, but I'm trying to make sure that the victims will be safe and that there will be no more incidents at this location. What I'm going to do is I'm going to rule that there be a $3,000 surety bond on this case, $1,000 for each charge. And with the conditions of the surety bond, there will be no drugs, alcohol, or weapons. There will be no further contact with Caitlin Green. And I'm going to order with this surety bond that Ms. Wright will have to stay away from the apartment E72, which is the 3390 Fairburn Road. And I understand Ms. Wright rather may be 60 years old. And I understand that she may have custody of a 12-year-old grandchild. But until we can eradicate the situation, She just can't go back there. It sounds like there's way too much going on. If she makes bond, she's got to find somewhere else to live, or you all can apply for a modification of those conditions at that point. But I do not want Ms. Wright to go back to this complex. Now, I guess, again, Ms. McLeod, you can apply for a modification once it is maybe determined by this officer in a month or so that the victim has moved from that location. And then you can apply and see if myself or another judge will grant Ms. Wright permission to go back once the victim has moved out.
At Judge Mincy, earlier you had said if you gave a surety bond, it would be not be conditional on her staying away. You said if you'd given her a
I was
signature
leaning
bond-
that way. Yeah, I was leaning that way until I got additional information, which is what I was waiting on. That's where I was leaning initially, but listening to what the officer said, who sounds to be very familiar with the situation, I trust that the state has given me correct information from this officer who was so kind to respond on his off day. I just want to make sure that things have cooled down out there. This just happened, yesterday. And it sounds like there's a lot of animosity and things going on. Initially, I was told that, and I don't know, again, to confirm that both parties have to leave in a month, or certainly the victim does. Once the victim is not there, then I believe the defendant will be able to ask for bond modification to go back. But right now, I have to make sure that there's going to be safety for at least one more month while the victim is trying to move from that location. So with the additional information, I'm just going to rule then that there would be a stay away if Ms. Wright makes bond, that she will not be able to go back to that location as long as Ms. Champion put this in the conditions, as long as the victim still resides there. She can go back with a one-time police escort to get any personal belongings. And Ms. Wright, please do not go back without a police escort. And if they determine at that time with the rental office, the property managers, that maybe Ms. Green has left early, then we can modify the bond for that. But right now, if she gets out tomorrow, the next day, and it sounds like Ms. Green won't be gone, but she cannot go back there as long as Ms. Green is residing there.
Your Honor, I believe Ms. Allen stated that the apartment complex said that Ms. Green has been criminally trespassed from the complex, which means she can't be there anyway. My client is 60 years old. She's looking after a 12-year-old. She's not working. When she gets a $3,000 good bond, she's not in any position to pay this. She doesn't have anyone to take care of her 12-year-old. And she was the one who was the victim here. She called the police for help. And then
I don't know that she's the victim. I'm not convinced that she's 100% the victim at this point. I want to move on from it to give my ruling. Like I say, I'm very concerned about all parties. And Ms. Green, I know that you want to talk and tell me this, but this is a bond hearing. This is not the trial. And Ms. Green, you need to double check if you've been trespassed and not go back to this property. It sounds like you can't even go back prior to moving out.
No,
So you may want to check with management.
The day that the fight happened, the rent office was out there. And the only reason they told me that I had to get off the property was because I was upset and I was yelling. And I didn't want to go in the house when they told me. But they just saw me there because, like I said, I had to go to the rent office because she started back up again. So the rent office had saw me. They have saw me. Like I said, I left my house last night because her family came to shoot at our house. That's why
I understand. I don't want you to repeat what you've already told me because I can't spend this much more time at a bond hearing on the facts. I understand. Well, she cannot return to the property as long as you are residing there. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So I've just given my ruling. You need to be careful. Call the police if there's any issues. Obviously, you know to do that. But she cannot return to that location unless they confirm with the rental office that you have moved out. Okay. All right.
Okay, thank you.
All right, take care. All right, next case, deputy.
Position 10, Lewis.
Okay. All right, we have 22 CR 006708F. Is that Ms. Lewis? You're charged with one count of willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer, second count of simple battery family violence, both with the offense date of 10/5/2022. Pretrial.
14 total. It's the 14th arrest in the last 7 years. On probation, ag assault and robbery, 16 SC 145989. 2017, they gave us 6 years probation. Got a 2021 affray out of Clayton County. 2020 probation violation, underlying charges, ag assault, robbery. Had a 2019 arrest for robbery, disorderly conduct, simple battery out of the cab. 2019 disorderly conduct conviction. 2018 probation. 2017 shoplifting. 2017 battery NOLO. Failure to appears from 2016. That's the first offender robbery and ag assault. 2015 battery not presented to grand jury. That's it.
All right. State.
Your Honor, on October 5th, 2022, Officer Freeman with the East Point Police Department was dispatched to 3157 Harris Drive, apartment 9 in East Point. Officer Freeman met with the victim, Nigel Hamilton Sr. Mr. Hamilton stated that he and the defendant reside together at that 3157 Harris Drive address. Mr. Hamilton stated that the defendant looked through his phone and saw that he had been communicating with other women, and then proceeded to pepper spray him in the face. Mr. Hamilton advised he was in pain from the pepper spray. When Officer Freeman transported the defendant to the East Point jail, she took her cell phone out of the property bag and attempted to make a phone call. Officer Freeman repeatedly told her to and motioned for her to hand the phone over back to him, and she refused. Officer Freeman was eventually able to get the phone out of the defendant's hand. The state would argue that the defendant poses a risk of reoffending due to having committed new crimes while on felony probation. She's also out on bond for the 2021 affray out of Clayton County. And she has several violent arrests and convictions. Due to that, the state is requesting a $3,500 surety bond on each charge, no contact with the victim, Nigel, Nijell Hamilton Sr., no alcohol, drug, or weapons while out on bond, a 1-day anger awareness, and a stay away from that 3157 Harris Drive, apartment 9, East Point location. Nothing further from the state at this time.
Okay.
Yes,
All right, Ms. Kim.
yes. Miss Lewis is 25 years old, Your Honor. She was born and raised here in Georgia, and they are actually engaged. Mr. Hamilton is Miss Lewis' fiance, and they actually had a child together, but she recently had a miscarriage. She has entire family here in Georgia, and her employment, she's self-employed to do hairs, and she also makes flyers. She says that 2017, 6 years probation was actually dismissed early, last month, 11/2022. So she does not have any probation at this point. And also, she has graduated from high school, and she went on to Georgia Piedmont College for trading school. And she also has a driver's license. She got her life together. She's doing well. And they are still, Mr. Hamilton is not afraid of her. So we would like to request for no further violent contact. And yet, If Your Honor is not inclined to give no further violent contact, my client does not have any objection to stay away from 3157 Harris Drive. Thank you.
All right. I'm going to order the $7,000 surety bond, and that's $3,500 on each charge. I'm going to order the stay away from 3157 Harris Drive, apartment number 9 in East Point. I'm going to order no further contact with the victim, Nigel Hamilton Sr. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond.
Can my client have one-time law enforcement escort visit to retrieve her personal belongings?
Yes, I will order a one-time law enforcement escort to the property to retrieve personal items.
Excuse me, Your Honor. I don't mean to interrupt, but I'm the victim, Nigel Hamilton Sr.
Yes, Mr. Hamilton, do you wish to briefly address the court? But I've already given my ruling.
Yes, ma'am. I didn't want to cut you off. I didn't want to cut you off, ma'am.
Okay.
That's fine.
Raise your right hand for me. Do you affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth under the penalty of perjury?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, are you in fear of Miss Lewis?
No, Your Honor.
Put your hand down. Okay, you're not in fear of her? And I understand you all are or were engaged?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
We are.
you're still engaged? Okay, and you don't have any children together?
We had a couple setbacks, a couple miscarriages, but no. But I
Okay.
am a single father. She helps me very well with my son.
Okay, well, I want to make sure again that this situation has had time to cool off. It just happened yesterday. And so that is why I'm ordering the surety bond, and given the criminal history as well, and not a signature bond. So I'm going to order that surety bond and the stay away to make sure that there are going to be no other incidents occurring between the two of you for now. And if she wants to, via her attorney, to motion the court for a modification of those conditions, and that's what must happen at a later time. But right now, I think for the safety of yourself, I'm gonna order the surety bond, okay?
I understand that, ma'am. But we're not violent at all. We never fighted anything. Our neighbors seen us talking. Well, we were talking, and they called, the police or whatever. But I begged that she would not be arrested. I'm like, everything is okay. She's okay. And when I was trying to, I wouldn't say stress, but when I was trying to let her know, like the officer, let her know that everything was okay and she didn't need to be locked up, she was pulling her weapon on me, and I just backed up, like, okay, I'm just gonna let this one go. But
Okay.
I
Well,
didn't want
this is not her trial. This is not her trial. This is not about guilt or innocence at this point. It is actually about more the innocent until proven guilty. So, the specific facts at this point, you can argue that later, but I'm going to go ahead because of what I've heard of the allegations and her criminal history, to order the signature bond at this, I'm sorry, the surety bond at this point, okay?
Amen.
All right. No, surety bond, $7,000 surety bond. All right, thank you for your time. I'm gonna move on from this case. That will conclude my ruling. $7,000 surety bond, $3,500 on each charge. Who do we have next, deputy?
I'm sorry, Your Honor, I had a question. I was gonna say,
Please, Miss Lewis, you have every right to remain silent. I'll give you a call so we can discuss, and I will answer all the questions.
I mean, it wasn't mess, I was
You
just.
already made a ruling. You don't want to.
Okay, thank you. Position 16, bond.
What number was that?
16.
16?
Mhm.
Okay.
The This is 22 CR 006711E, Corey Bond. You're charged at 1 count of cruelty to children in the 3rd degree, 2nd count of battery, family violence, and the 3rd count of obstructing or hindering persons making emergency telephone call, all with the offense date of 10/5/2022. Pretrial.
7 total. Let's see. Last arrest was back in May. Battery DV. February, afraid to appear for battery DV, theft by taking. 2021 battery, theft by taking, cruelty in the 3rd. So he got open cases in state court and superior. I'll let state get into that though. That's it.
Okay. All right, state.
Yes, Your Honor. On October 5th, 2022, officers were dispatched to Vandiver, Vandiver Road and Enon Road in Fulton County. Upon arrival, they spoke with Miss Alexis Johnson, Alexis Johnson, and she stated that she and the defendant are in a relationship, share children together, and also reside together. The victim stated that the defendant became irate and combative with her while their children were in the vehicle. The victim stated that she tried to call the police because she was in fear of her safety and her children's safety, and the defendant attempted to take the phone out of her hand and began punching her in the face. Officers observed bruising and cuts to the victim's face, and the victim also stated that her wrist hurt from the defendant snatching the phone from her hand. As Mr. Howard stated, the defendant does have 2 open battery family violence cases in Fulton County where he's out on bond with the same victim. He also has a Fayette County battery family violence case that's open. That incident occurred in 2022 of this year with the same victim. The state would argue that he poses a risk of reoffending due to his history of violence against the same victim. And the defendant is a danger to the community and the victim. The state's recommendation is a $10,000 cash bond, no contact with the victim or her minor children. Their initials are XR and KS. His previous bond orders have those minors' initials in them as well. No alcohol, drug, or weapons while out on bond, and a 1-day anger awareness. Nothing further from the state at this time.
All right. PDs.
Your Honor, my client is 22 years old. He denies the allegations, Your Honor. He said that he did not strike the victim at all, that is absolutely untrue. They were having a verbal dispute after she came to pick him up from work, and he was a little late. Some facts have not been stated here. For example, they share a child, a 4-month-old child, together, and they actually live in my client's mom's home. She is the homeowner and they're both living there. This is her home, not on the alleged victim's home. My client's mother's home is where they are currently living. I tried to get in touch with mom, but was unable to, just to ascertain how she feels about all of this. Because I think since this is her home, she's going to have some say in who can and cannot live in her home. While I acknowledge that my client has some history with this alleged victim, I had an opportunity to talk to her, and she tells me, she also confirms that what the prosecution is saying, that's not what really happened between them, and that my client did not strike her. Giving him a $10,000 cash bond is essentially saying that he can't get out of jail, Your Honor, because he's in no position to post a bond like that. I would ask the court to take that into consideration in setting his bond. The bond that is being recommended by the prosecution is excessive in this case, Your Honor, especially given that the alleged victim says that she is not afraid of him, and that is not what happened between them. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right.
I believe she's on as well, Your Honor.
Is the victim on, Ms. Johnson? To the Alexis
Yes,
Johnson?
here.
Do you wish to address the court?
Yes,
All right, raise your right hand for me. Do you affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth under the penalty of perjury?
yes, ma'am.
All right, are you in fear of Mr. Vaughn?
No,
Okay. And the two of you have been residing together, is that correct?
yes, ma'am.
And you've been residing in his mother's home?
No, the other charges that they stated, that was in my home last year, 2021, and the beginning of 2022. I don't live there in East Point anymore. I now live with him and his mother at their home in Rex, Georgia.
Okay, the mother's home that you reside in is in Rex, Georgia.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay. But the incident location, this Vandiver Road and Enon Road, that's just where you happen to be at that time in your vehicle?
Yes, ma'am. Picking him up from work.
Okay, okay. All right, anything else you'd like to tell the court?
Like the attorney said, it's no way that we'll be able to pay a $10,000 bond. He just started a new job and he's trying to take care of our 4-month-old son, plus my other 2 children that he helps me take care of every day. The incidents that have occurred, it just disputes in between us, and of course it's family bond because we're in a relationship and live together. And the children cruelty, our children so happen to be in the car. They were in danger, I wasn't in danger. And I never told the police that he punched me several times in the face. They seen marks on my face and I said, I feel like I got hit, and I told them we were tussling. I never said he was punching me in the face. That is false. And no, I'm not afraid of him. Like I said, he just started a new job trying to take care of our 4-month-old son, plus my other 2 children. And we're in the process of this Saturday, we had a meeting to look at new homes. We're trying to move out of his mom's house. We're getting everything back on track. It just was a tragic incident that happened yesterday.
Okay. All right, thank you for that. All right, I'm going to order based on the history that I've heard here. I'm going to order the $10,000 cash bond. I want to make sure that you, Ms. Johnson, are safe. Sounds like there's a lot that's been going on, but we want to ensure it going forward that you and your children are safe. So I'm going to order no further contact with the victim, Miss Alexis Johnson, and the children XR and KS. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. And so that will be the ruling of the court.
Your Honor, there is another child. They share a 4-month-old child together.
Okay. What are
And
the
there are 2 other
initials
children. He's not the father of those other 2. And I
that
think
were
those
also
other
in the
ones mentioned.
vehicle? And they were also in the vehicle as well?
I think all 3 children were there.
Okay. What is the initials, Ms. Johnson, of the other child that was in the car?
JV.
JV is in Victor?
Yes. It was
Okay.
only R and JV. KS wasn't in the car.
KS was not in the car?
No,
But KS would be around. Let me just put all 3 children on there, XR, KS, and JV, to be sure.
Your Honor,
All
what's
right.
the breakdown on the bond, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. On the 10,
I apologize, Your Honor, for not breaking that down, but did
Go
you
ahead.
want me to recommend
Yes,
something?
do the math for me, please.
Yes, Your Honor. I'll recommend a $4,000 cash bond on the battery family violence and a $3,000 cash bond on the cruelty, $3,000 cash bond on the obstruction.
All right. I will accept the state's recommendation. 3,000, 4,000, and 3,000. Thank you. All right, that should conclude this case.
Done. Position 9, Jenkins.
Your Honor, my business before the court is concluded. May I be excused?
Yes, you may. Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mm-hmm.
Who we on?
She hadn't said.
Oh,
Position 9, Jenkins.
All right, position 9, Jenkins, 22 CR 006707 Damian Jenkins. 1 count of criminal trespass, offense date 10/4/2022.
this is 10th arrest. He's a resident of Indianapolis. The last arrest was a couple of days ago. He went to the city jail for shoplifting. He got a 2021 shoplifting trespass. Another 2021 criminal trespass. History out of Indiana, 2019 intimidation, carrying a handgun without a license. The intimidation was dismissed. The handgun was guilty. Before that was 2017. Looks like suspended license possibly. 2013 DUI, possession of marijuana, hash oil. 2012 carrying a handgun without a license, dismissed. And 07 carrying a handgun without a permit, conviction.
Okay. All right, state.
Yes, Your Honor. On October 5th, 2022, Officer Armstrong with the Atlanta Police Department was dispatched to 1892 Howell Mill Road. That's a Shell gas station, in reference to someone criminally trespassing on the property. The store manager, Mr. Muhammad, stated that the defendant had been standing on the side of the building, harassing employees and customers. The defendant was told to leave the property several times by APD officers and the gas station's manager, Mr. Muhammad. Once Officer Armstrong arrived on the scene, the defendant stated that he was not leaving the property and that he was going to continue to harass the business. The defendant was taken into custody at that time and transported to the Fulton County Jail. The state's recommendation is a $1,000 surety bond and a stay away from the incident location. That's 1892 Howell Mill Road, Shell gas station. No alcohol or drugs or weapons while out on bond. The state would argue that he poses a risk of reoffending due to committing additional crimes while out on bond for his recent arrest. The state would also argue that he poses a risk of not appearing for court as he is a multi-state offender as recently as 2020. Nothing further from the state at this time.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Jenkins is 35 years old, Your Honor, and he came to Atlanta, Georgia, dreaming to have a better life, and he could not find employment yet. So he does not have any employment. And also I am actually requesting social worker services to find some kind of housing for him. He's residentially challenged, so we are seeking for help. He graduated from high school, and I think that's about it, Your Honor. We would like to request for a signature on bond, and yet if Your Honor is not inclined to give him a signature on bond, $1,000 is okay with us. Thank you.
All right. All right, I'm going to order the $1,000 surety bond. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond, and a stay away from 1892 Howell Mill Road, which is the Shell station. And I think that's it. Anything else, counsel?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Position 7, Fortune.
Okay, this is 22 CR 00670 Cordalero, Fortune. You're charged with 1 count of battery family violence. Offense date is July 18th, 2022. Pretrial.
This is fourth arrest. Actually, this is fifth. Last arrest was in 07. I put it on the email I sent you with the recommendation.
Okay,
You see it?
yes.
All right. Those were convictions. Yeah, the 06 assault excluding sexual, 06 robbery, and the other stuff was 07. So I think he went to prison. So that's it. All of it come out of Michigan.
Michigan, okay. All right.
Yes,
State,
Your Honor. This offense occurred on July 18th of this year. Officers were dispatched to 3858 Cascade Park Circle Southwest. Upon arrival, they met with the victim of this case, Shatoya Fincher Ford. She stated that her husband assaulted her on that day. She said while they were inside the house, someone knocked at the door, and for whatever reason, nobody answered it. At that point, they caused an argument between them. They were also arguing about infidelity on his part, the defendant's part. At that point, the defendant started to pull her hair and drag her down the stairs. And he also spit on her and kneeled on her face. When officers arrived, they saw bruises all over her body, on both sides of her body, on her back, on her legs, and she also had extensive pain in her face, Your Honor. We have been in contact with this victim, and she states they are in the process of getting the divorce. In fact, there's a divorce hearing that will be happening next week. She's saying that she wants no contact with the defendant at all because since this incident, he has been calling and texting her nonstop, even though she's refusing to answer the phone. He has been riding around where she is. He has been harassing her and threatening her. And she also states this is not the first time he has been violent with her, but the first time she's called the police. It seems this victim has reached her breaking point, Your Honor. The state is concerned for the safety of this victim, especially since she's trying to create distance and he's forcing himself on her in contact wise. It's so bad that she was saying she doesn't even want to go to the hearing next week because she doesn't want to see him at all because it's constant harassment from him. Your Honor, the state is requesting a $3,000 surety in this case. No further contact with Ms. Shatoya, Shatoya, Fincher Ford, Fincher-Ford. A stay away. She has since moved. She did not want to provide the state with the address. She feels that in some way he'll be able to get hold of that address. So we're just asking, stay away from her, Your Honor. We don't have an address to provide, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
okay. All right. Who's PD on this case?
Juan DeGant, Your Honor.
Oh, Ms. Gant, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Cordello Fortune is 33 years old. He has been in the Atlanta, Georgia area for 3 years. He informed me that he and the complaining witness, Ms. Shatoya Fincher Ford, were married for 13 months. He also confirmed that there is a divorce hearing. He further stated that he is the person who filed for divorce, Your Honor. Mr. Fortune does have family in the Atlanta, Georgia area. They do not share any children together. Mr. Fortune obtained a GED. He also has college credits in computer information science. He also is a commercial truck driver. He is employed by FedEx. He has been in that position for the past 4 years. He strongly denies the allegations, Your Honor. This incident occurred back in, is alleged to have occurred back in July. My client was unaware of the warrant. He states that He was arrested while he was at work. He is very concerned about losing his job. He was unable to deliver a load. What he was actually, I guess, in a traffic stop and was subsequently arrested when he learned about this warrant. He states that there is an open case out of Suwannee for battery. He basically filed a report against Ms. Fortune for battering him. I do acknowledge my client's background, Your Honor, but I would bring to the court's attention that this is a remote conviction. My client was around 16 or 17 years old at the time. He is 33. We have not had heard about any further arrest or conviction since then. I am requesting a signature bond on Mr. Fortune's behalf. I believe, based on the report that I received, he is recommended. We are unopposed to the no contact order. He does not want to have any contact with Ms. Fortune. And Your Honor, if Your Honor determines that he is ineligible for a signature bond, I would ask for a bond of no more than $1,000. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, I'm going to order a $3,000 surety bond. I'm going to order no further contact with Shatoya Fincher Ford. I'm going to order no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. And that should conclude the ruling. Anything else, counsel?
Nothing further from the defense, Your Honor. Thank you.
Just from the state, based on our victim's wishes, we would just like for you to make it clear to the defendant what no contact means and what staying away from her means. She is very fearful, Your Honor.
All right.
Your Honor, if I may, I indicated that my client does not wish to have any contact with Ms. Fortune.
Well, his
All right.
actions since July has shown that he wants to have contact with her against her wishes, Your Honor. So for that reason, the state is adamant in the instruction, so he can't say he didn't know, Your Honor.
And Your Honor, if I may, I do apologize for interrupting, but none of what Ms. King is mentioning is in the warrant. I would ask that Your Honor stay within the four corners of the warrant. We have no proof whatsoever that that the complaining witness is not here. This is a warrant from an incident back in July. My client is adamant that he does not want contact. He has not been in contact with her, Your Honor.
Okay, Ms. Gant, that is fine. We have other boxes to check on the order. And there's a box to check on there that says no emails, no internet connections, no third-party connections. Don't go to her place of employment. Not to be, how many yards is it, Ms. Champion? I think it's 200 or 100 yards. Don't have it right in front of me at the moment.
It's 200, Your Honor.
200 yards. We're going to make sure all of that is checked. He's not to have any third party or persons to contact her. And he's to have no means of any type of contact with her. So we'll just make sure for the safety of our victim, since it has been expressed, in other conversations with the victim. So it does not necessarily matter whether she's here or not, but if we have any allegations of improper previous contact, we want to make sure that the defendant, Mr. Fortune, understands that that means no forms of contact whatsoever. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, thank you.
Position
Next.
12, Taylor.
12, okay. This is 22 CR 006710Y. Nicholas Taylor, charged with 1 count of lauder prowling, 2nd count of criminal trespass, 3rd count willful obstruction, law enforcement officer. The offense date 10/4/2022. Pretrial.
It's 8th arrest. Last arrest was in February. Criminal trespass, misdemeanor obstruction. 2019, failure to appear, simple battery DV.
Okay.
Convicted of simple battery DV in 2019. Got a 2019 simple battery conviction. 2017 FTA for misdemeanor possession of marijuana. That's it. So he just got the open case in state court.
Okay.
Did I give you the case number? 22 CR 000712C.
Okay. All right, state.
Yes, Your Honor. On October 4th, 2022, Luke Howard, who was the owner of the building of the criminal trespass. That building is 5457 Roswell Road in Sandy Springs. Mr. Howard called police and he noticed on his camera that the defendant was on his property around 10:45 p.m. on October 4th. And at that time, the business is closed, so there wouldn't be any reason for anyone to be on the property at that time. Officer Buckley went out to the location to detain the defendant, and the defendant began pulling away and hindering Officer Buckley from executing the lawful discharge of his duties. Due to the defendant being out on bond for criminal trespass already from earlier of this year, although it is a different location, he is out on bond and has picked up a new charge. He also has previous FTA arrests, so the state would argue that he poses a risk of not appearing for court in the future. The state would be recommending a $500 surety bond on each charge for a total of a $1,500 surety bond. Stay away from the incident location, that 5457 Roswell Road address, and no alcohol, drugs, or weapons while out on bond.
All right. PD?
Yes, Nicholas Taylor he was born May 5, 1996. So I believe he is 26 years old. And he has been here in Georgia about 2 years. He came from California. He wanted to find a job, but he could not find a job yet. He was not completely able to, blossom at this point. He's unemployed. He has GED. And at this point, we would like to request for a signature on bond since he has no means to pay for any of these bond. However, if your honor is not inclined to give him a signature bond, I think $1,500 is fine with us. Thanks.
Okay. All right, I'll order $1,500 surety bond, $500 on each charge. Stay away from 5457 Roswell Road, Sandy Springs. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond.
Thanks, Your Honor.
Okay.
What was that?
1,500, 500 on each surety bond.
Position 1, Atkinson.
Okay. Position 1. This is case number 22 CR 006696F. Travis Atkinson, you're charged with 1 count of theft by taking. Offense date 10/5/2022. Pretrial.
Second arrest. Last was
Okay.
2012 trespass. That's it.
All right.
That was dismissed.
Dismissed. Okay. State.
Yes, Your Honor, this offense occurred on October 5th. Officers were dispatched to a stolen package call. Upon arrival, they met with the victim, Shanita King, SHAUNITA, last name traditional spelling, who stated that at 11 a.m., a neighbor told her that a package arrived at her door. Ms. King arrived at her home at 11:58 to see, no. She arrived at her home later to find out that the package was missing. She went to the complex to watch their security cameras, and they saw a maintenance employee who was the defendant take the package at 11:58 a.m. At that point, law enforcement was called. They searched the premises. They were able to find the defendant. His Miranda rights were read, and he was asked about the whereabouts of the package. The defendant led the law enforcement to the package, and it was fortunately given back to the victim of this case. While this defendant does not have a lengthy criminal history, the state is willing to consent to a 3,000 signature bond through pretrial. We will defer to the court regarding a stay away since he's an employee of the incident location, but we do want him to have no further contact with Shanita King and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
All right. PD.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Atkinson is 40 years old. He is a long-term Atlanta, Georgia resident. He has family here, including a sister and his mother. Mr. Atkinson completed high school. Your Honor, he is no longer employed at that particular complex. We are unopposed to any no contact provisions. Mr. Atkinson's lives at that residence, but he plans on moving. So I would ask that he be granted a one-time law enforcement escort so that he can retrieve any belongings from the location. He is presumed innocent, Your Honor, at this point. I am requesting a signature bond on his behalf, Your Honor. He does not have any prior convictions, Your Honor. As we heard from pretrial, the matter in 2012 was dismissed and it's a non-violent offense. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. I will grant the $3,000 signature bond through pretrial. I'm going to also order no further contact with Shanita King, the victim in this case. And I'm also going to order no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. And I understand he may live there, but he's moving. I would say stay away from that location, but I guess we need to ask, is he moving pretty quickly? Or we'll give him a one-time escort and order the stay away, but if he's moving, I guess it'll all work out if I give the stay away and then he gets a one-time escort to go back and then move his items. Is that what we're probably doing, Miss Gant? I'm not sure.
Yes, Your Honor. He informed me that he does not have many things and that it can be accomplished with the one-time law enforcement escort.
Okay, great. All right. So we'll order the stay away and then the one-time escort. All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Position 4, Dawkins.
And Your Honor, for position 4, I did request a breakout.
Okay.
I would need to go to that breakout as well as Deputy Allen.
All right.
I would like to go to, Your Honor.
Okay.
Thank you.
Just turn on your mic.
Okay, gotcha. All right, you need the ruling on that case pretrial?
Yes, the court does.
Yes, I'm sorry. For the ruling would be a $3,000 surety bond. We were discussing some issues in breakout, but it's a $3,000 surety bond. A stay away from 4707 Paul Pines Drive. No further contact with the victim, Marvin Dawkins. Behavioral health will do an evaluation. And no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on file.
Your Honor, if I may we add a one-time law enforcement escort?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, one-time law enforcement escort to retrieve personal items.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Position 13, 14, and 15. Have a seat at the chair then.
All right, this is 15, Deputy.
13, 14, and 15.
Oh, I see. All right, I will start with 13, but I'm going to call all three cases. Position 13 is 22 CR 006-702G. Is it Quaterius Teague? And I'm sorry if I mispronounced your first name. You're charged in that first case with one count of theft by shoplifting. The offense date is July 19th, 2022. The second case is 22 CR 006703G. You're charged with one count of theft by shoplifting and a second count of terroristic threats with the offense date of August the 2nd, 2022. And then the third case is 22 CR 006705G. One count of simple battery, a second count of theft by taking, with the offense date of May the 18th, 2022. State, are you prepared to do all three?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot about pretrial. I'm sorry. Pretrial.
14 total. Last arrest was 2011. Felony theft by receiving, well, it's auto. Misdemeanor fleeing, driving without a valid license. Giving false name, misdemeanor obstruction, misdemeanor marijuana possession. Robbery, ag assault, criminal damage to property, second degree. 11 SC 98571 is the robbery. They gave him 20 year sentence, 10 to serve, 10 probated. So based on that math, he would still be on probation. Before that was 2008 obstruction, probation violation, 07 theft by receiving, auto conviction. Giving false name obstruction from 06. And some FTAs. That's it.
All right, State.
Yes, Your Honor. I'll start with position 13. On July 19th, 2022, Officer Dimaso, DIMASO, was dispatched to 1820 Hollywood Road in Atlanta, Georgia. That's a Circle K gas station. Officer met with the store manager, Miss Sandra Brown, who stated that a Black male with short hair, wearing a white t-shirt and blue jeans, who had tattoos, walked into the store and stole a case of Bud Light beer and a pack of Newports. Ms. Brown stated that this male passed all points of sale and walked out of the store with the items heading towards Perry Road in Atlanta. She stated that the male has been stealing from the store for a while, but every time she attempts to lock the door and wait on the police, he breaks the door open. Officers were able to see video footage of the male stealing the items from the register. The state would be requesting $1,000 surety bond on this charge and a stay away from that 1820 Hollywood Road, Atlanta, Georgia, Circle K location. And the state would argue that he poses a risk of reoffending due to being on probation and picking up additional charges. And he has prior FTA arrests. So the state would argue that he poses a risk of not appearing for court. Do you want me to go through all three and then you make a ruling, or did you want to go one by one?
Well, I mean, this one is simple, so I'll go ahead and do this one. But let me hear from the PDs. I didn't know how connected the facts are. Is it all from the same store or different locations?
They're all three different cases, different locations, Your Honor.
Okay, well, let's do them one at a time.
Yes, sure.
PD, go ahead on position 13.
Judge.
Huh?
I forgot to tell you. He got 2 holds. He got one out of Douglasville
Oh,
for battery, one out of Marietta for larceny,
oh,
and a probation
okay.
in Fort. That's all.
Oh, wow. Okay. Oh, wow. Thank you. All right. PD,
Yes.
which one? Okay.
Mr. Teague is 34 years old, Your Honor, and he was born and raised here in Georgia. Is native Atlanta person, and he has one child who is 15 years old, and also he is expecting another child. He just came back from the hospital where OBGYN, where his wife was going to check on her baby. They're very excited to have newborn baby. And he has been cleaning up. That's his employment. He's been doing that about 1.5 weeks. Before that, he was not really employed. He completed up to 11th grade for high school education. He could not get GED yet. However, he still has a strong ties to the communities because his entire family are here in Georgia. Your Honor, they are still in a good relationship, and we would like to request for signature on bond for the Circle K that happened on July 19, 2022. All the others, they are kind of remote. I do understand there was a probation, and yet, Your Honor, he has a hold. There's no place that he can go except at either Douglasville or Marietta, where he has a hold. So we would like to request for a signature on bond. Thanks.
Okay. All right. On this case, I'll just order the $1,000 surety bond. I'm going to order a stay away from 1820 Hollywood Road to Circle K. And I'm going to order no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. All right. Next case.
Yes, Your Honor, on this is position 14, 22 CR 006703G. On August 2nd, 2022, Officer Brown was dispatched to 1674 Donald Lee Hollowell Parkway, which is a Metro PCS store, in response to a shoplifting call. Officer Brown spoke with the victim, Miss DeAndre Watson. Watson stated that the defendant walked in the door and asked for the cheapest cell phone there. When Watson got the cell phone out, the defendant snatched the phone and began walking out the door and told Mr. Watson, "You already know what's up and I'll fire your ass up," before exiting out the front door. The defendant was last seen walking westbound on Donald Lee Hollowell Parkway. There was video of the incident, and so officers were able to see that video. The state would be asking for $1,000 surety bond on each charge in this case, once again, due to the risk of him reoffending and not appearing for court in the future, Your Honor. Nothing further from the state on this case.
All right.
Nothing further from defense, Your Honor.
All right, so I ordered the $2,000 surety bond. Stay away from the Metro PCS on Donnelly Hollowell Parkway. And I don't know, you didn't ask for no further contact with the victim. If he stays away from the store, do you want a no further contact with the victim or not? Are the manager, employee, or whomever at the store stay?
I'll request that, Your Honor, but I'll leave it to the court's discretion, but I will recommend, his name is DeAndre, DeOndra Watson, Watson.
All right, and I'll order no further contact with the victim, DeAndre Watson as well, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. All right, position 15.
Yes, Your Honor. This is case number 22 CR 006-705G. On May 18th, 2022, Officer Gallon with Atlanta Police Department, GALLON, was dispatched to 1669 Mary George Avenue in Atlanta, Georgia. Upon arrival, he spoke with the victim in this case, Miss Rochelle Gates. That's spelled RACHELLE Gates, GATES. She stated that her and the defendant got into a verbal altercation. She told him to leave the location when she saw that he was getting even more upset. She stated that the defendant slapped her in the face twice and then took her Apple iPhone and her wallet, which had her license and credit card in it. The victim and the defendant are just friends. They don't live together or anything like that. And the incident location is actually the defendant's grandmother's home, I believe. So the state is not asking from a stay away. The state is recommending a $2,000 surety bond on each charge due to their being violence in this incident, and once again, him posing a risk of reoffending and him being a danger to the community and posing a risk of not appearing for court. The state would also recommend no contact with the victim, Rochelle Gates, no alcohol, drug, or weapons while out on bond, and a one-day anger awareness, Your Honor.
Your Honor, Mr. Teague says that their relationships are actually still going on. They're fine, and it's not just friends. She is a mother of his children. Actually, one is already 15, and the other one, they are expecting a baby very soon. So we would like to request for no further violent contact. And this happened in May, Your Honor, about 5 months ago. Cooling off period has gone. They're fine, Your Honor. And he really loves his Rochelle Gates. And I was hoping to talk to her. However, I could not contact her. And we would like to request for no further violent contact. And also, surety bond to be maximum $1,000 because he started his job 1.5 weeks ago and he does not have much savings, Your Honor. Thanks. Mr. Teague, would you please stay silent? You have
that's not him. That's the officer in the
okay,
court.
sorry about that.
Your Honor, if I may, I wanted to, we were not aware that they had kids together. And so I just wanted to just put that on the record. And so now that we know that, we will be amending the charges, and we would argue that that actually makes this worse since it is a domestic violence situation. Thank you, Your Honor.
Well, I guess the biggest thing again is he's got all the holds, but I will just go ahead and issue a $4,000 surety bond, $2,000 on each of the charges, and no further contact with Rochelle Gates at this time. and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons. And I think that's all I need to take up at the moment.
Can
Is
he
that correct?
have a third party transfer to have a child visitation?
If she allows it, yes. If the victim allows visitation, it must be by third party.
Sure.
Your Honor, would you, and maybe I missed it, but would you be inclined to add a one-day anger awareness?
I don't know if we can afford to pay for it. I usually do that with pretrial, and in the past, I've tried to do that, and it seems like no one knows of where to tell them to go to do it, and usually they say they can't afford it. So I won't do that at this time. I'll let them do that further down the road.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Raise your hand.
Excuse me.
Mr. Teague, you have a constitutional right to remain silent. Judge has already ruled. We would like I'll give you a call to give you explanation if you have any questions.
I just talked to all she had me told me I could speak, ma'am. I don't have no money, ma'am.
Please stay silent. Thank you.
So who gonna speak for me if I can't speak for myself?
You don't want to hurt your case.
So, Judge, that was number 14 or 15?
Mr.
Was that number 14 we just did?
That was 15.
15.
Okay, 15 was 4,000. 14 was 2,000?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, what was 13?
Definitely. Yeah.
And 13 was 1,000.
Oh my God, my bad. All right.
I know.
Well, I know we got multitask. We got one more case, right, Della Rosa?
Position 5.
Yes.
That's correct.
Yeah. This is a waiver, right?
Is it a waiver?
Yes, Your Honor, that is my case. I submit a waiver.
Okay.
Yeah, position 5 is waiver parents, and also position 8 is a medical reset, Judge, and we're completed here in Portland too.
Okay, thank you. Position 8 will be reset to tomorrow.
All righty. You waiting on me?
Yeah, hold on, let me call it. This is 22 CR 006666F, and that's Angelo Della Rosa, charge of 1 count of criminal trespass, offense date 10/3/2022, pretrial.
He has 112.
112?
That is
Yeah.
correct, Your Honor.
Yeah, well, I've seen more, but yeah. Last arrest was August 2021, trespass, theft by taking. He has 69 arrests out of California alone. So, yeah. You want me to leave it at that?
That's fine. Go ahead, State.
Yes, that's correct, Your Honor. He's only 37 years old with over 100 cycles. This offense occurred on October 3rd. Officer responded to 57 Forsyth Street Northwest to a criminal trespass call. Upon arrival, they spoke with property security, Mr. Matthew Henry. He stated that he had detained the defendant due to criminal trespassing at that location. The defendant refused to leave after being told multiple times and even receiving documentation that he was not to return to that building. At that point, he was taken into custody. The 57 Forsyth Street is the Healy Building, Healey. In light of this extensive criminal history with, I lost count of how many criminal trespasses are encompassed in all of his cycles. The state is asking for 2,000 surety in this case, a stay away from the Healy Building located at 57 Forsyth Street Northwest, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
All right. PD.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Angelo Della Rosa is 37 years old. He has been in the Atlanta, Georgia area for 8 years. He doesn't really have any family here, nor anyone to call upon to assist with bond. He informed me that he completed some college credits in biotechnology. However, at this time, he is unemployed. He is residentially residentially challenged. I am engaging social worker services to assist with his living situation, Your Honor. And I do acknowledge my client's history. However, we didn't really hear a lot about convictions, and this is a non-violent offense. Therefore, Your Honor, I'm requesting a signature bond on Mr. De La Rosa's behalf. And if Your Honor determines that he's ineligible, then I would ask for a bond of no more than $1,000. And we are unopposed to the stay away. Thank you.
Your Honor, if the PD's office would like to hear about convictions, we have over 40 convictions, Your Honor.
More
What's
than
the
that.
last two? I know, what's the last two convictions?
So trespasses from 2021 and just about every year going back, multiple in a year, here in Georgia, and then in California, it's just.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, even still, Your Honor, again, this is a non-violent offense. My client does not have the means to bond out of jail. Giving him a $2,000 bond is akin to no bond.
All right. All right, I am going to order the $2,000 surety bond. I'm going to order stay away from 57 Forsyth Street, the Healy Building, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. That should conclude it.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, thank you.
Your Honor.
You ready, Ms. Champion?
Judge, I'm good.
You good?
Yeah, you going for tomorrow, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. See you tomorrow.
All right, bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, position number 1 is a $3,000 pretrial bond reset further notice. Position number 2 is a $5,000 pretrial bond reset further notice. Position number 3 is a $5,000 pretrial bond reset further notice. Position number 4 is a $3,000 good bond reset SAP 1020. Position number 5 is a $2,000 good bond reset SAP 1020. Position number 6 is a total of a $4,000 pretrial bond reset further notice. Position number 7 is a $3,000 good bond reset SAP 1020. Position number 8 will be reset to the C of 10-7. Position number 9 is the $1,000 good bond reset SAP 1020. Position number 10 is a total of a $7,000 good bond reset SAP 1020. Position number 11 is the $5,000 pretrial bond reset further notice. Position number 12 is a $1,500 good bond reset SAP 1020. Position number 13 is a $1,000 good bond reset SAP 1020. Position number 14 is a $2,000 good bond reset SAP 1020. Position number 15 is a $4,000 good bond total reset SAP 1020. Position number 16 is a total of a $10,000 cash bond only reset SAP 1020. And position number 17 is a total of a $3,000 good bond reset SAP 1020. Any questions?
Nope, I don't have any. Anyone else?